What's up, YouTube? Bringing you guys a finance business influencer slash guru tier list. These are some of the hottest people on the internet. They have millions of followers. I've certainly been following some of these people for a long while, and they're all mostly on YouTube as well and social media. So I thought I would bring you some of the favorite people that I've followed and their advice and where I'll rank them from S as goated to D as of run in terms of being a grifter. So before I get into the rankings, I'm kind of judging these people purely on my experience with their content and what I think their advice is. And if they're either selling you the advice and selling you courses on it, or they're just purely doing it from their heart and with the right motivations. So we got 5 tiers, like you can see. To start, we got this infamous person, and I think you guys might agree with me, but Dave Ramsey. Like, if you're in debt and you have zero discipline with money, I think he's a great person to kind of follow at the start. If you don't understand much about personal finance or just money in general, he's a great person to start. But if you're kind of past that stage where you're trying to build actual wealth, his advice will kind of cap you. He talks about not having credit cards, not investing into anything except mutual funds, to invest all debt, including like real estate, which I just think is bizarre. So I'll put Dave Ramsey as decent because although he's really smart, he's built a great brand. I think his advice is solely for the beginners, and to understand the start and the beginning is not necessarily super hard. So I think he kind of caps out at some point. So let's talk about Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad. This is probably one of the most important personal finance books ever written. If you've never read it, I think it's phenomenal. I actually thought it was kind of cheesy before I read it. One of those high media books, but I actually thought the book was phenomenal. Like, I learned a good bit from it, I'll be honest. How he kind of describes assets and liabilities was pretty cool. The different boxes. So definitely a super smart dude. He's done great for himself, of course. All of them here have. But I think Kiyosaki has now predicted probably the 15 of the last 0 market crashes. So he's always like pessimistic about the stock market in specific. But aside from that, his advice is phenomenal in terms of real estate, and he really likes gold and silver, Bitcoin, and hard assets. So he goes in the respect tier because I really liked his book, and I think his brand is super strong at this point. Rich Dad Poor Dad is a great, phenomenal read. So definitely recommend, but he's kind of a perma bear. So he goes on A. Let's talk about Alex Hormozy. I think this guy is one of the most followed business guys in the internet right now. And for a good reason, because if you're either like building a business or you're actually seriously about to start a business, this guy will be your guru. Like, he's so intelligent when it comes to this kind of stuff. He's ran multiple different businesses. If you follow his career, his advice is phenomenal. The only thing is, like, he's kind of the opposite of Dave Ramsey, where his advice is more designed to people that who already run a business or have run a business in the past, or they're serious about doing one. Because if you actually look at his videos, like, would I recommend his videos to my parents, for example, or my cousin who's trying to get better at personal finance? Probably not, because he's talking about CAC, which is like customer acquisition costs, and like customer retention, and how to measure advertised spend, and all these different terms that might not be relevant to a normal person that doesn't run a business. So I still will put him as goated because he puts out so much free content that is like literally worth hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. So this guy is a beast. He's, of course, done extremely well for himself. He goes on the S tier. So let's talk about Cody Sanchez. I think she's great. Honestly, I don't follow much of her content. The whole like boring business angle that she has with like laundromats, car washes, small service businesses is awesome. because they're pretty accessible to do. And, everybody knows how to run a car wash or maybe like a small service business that they might be running already. I think that's pretty sick. But, she doesn't actually do it herself. She's just kind of like recording it. And like I've seen some of it where she was following this guy that does like pressure washing, and she got like one client from like a friend, and she was like, yeah, if I just annualize this and then grow to another 10 clients. It was a good video because it opens a lot of people's minds into how to market this kind of stuff and how to run this business. But she doesn't actually do it a lot. So I'll put it as proceed with caution. No hate. I just think she doesn't actually provide a lot of value like these other three guys over here. But she's still a great watch and very insightful when it comes to different types of businesses. So let's talk about Graham Stephan. This guy was probably one of the first ones that I've started watching. He's solid, man. He's got great fundamentals. He talks about index funds, living below your means, real estate. I look up a lot to this guy. He taught me how to like run a Roth IRA, what a 401k is. And man, he's kind of like an upgraded Dave Ramsey, right? Where he's pretty conservative, but he's not like not buying a house because there's a mortgage. So I really like his advice. I think his stuff has gotten a little clickbaity over the years and less tactical because he's more of an influencer at this time. He's not really like running his real estate stuff anymore. Really like the podcast, but I'm going to rank him as A. He's one of the GOATs, and I think will continue to be. His earlier content's phenomenal. So let's talk about Meet Kevin. I think these two guys kind of came up at the same time. I started watching Meet Kevin forever ago now. I think probably more than 5 years. And, I want to be fair to him. He's kind of, he's grown a lot. So his advice has gone different. He's kind of doing the whole economic, like equities market stuff. He kind of moved away from the real estate Noob versus Pro series that he used to do, which I really liked. He actually ran for governor of California, which is pretty sick. His audience kind of went away from investors to people who just want to like see something about economics and politics, and it's not really like financial education anymore. But I do think his prior advice from like 2022, 2021 is like goated. He knows a lot about real estate, about the equities markets, about personal finance. This guy's a beast. He's done it himself. He now runs a pretty major real estate flipping company, which is sick. And I'll rank him as respect with Graham Stephan, although he's pretty controversial at this point and he's always into some beef. I like his educational stuff and his experience. He's done well for himself. Let's talk about Grant Cardone. This guy's pretty controversial. He runs 10x Capital, which is more of like a motivational framework, to his company, which I think is cool because this kind of shit's pretty hard. But he kind of runs a syndication with real estate, and that means like he raises money with other people, like me or you, and it's like, hey, invest in my fund, and I'm gonna go buy all these apartments. So he runs Cardone Capital. That's his syndication, and it's awesome. But a lot of times, like he's dabbling to crypto and running his funds, leveraging crypto, and it's just like I think he's missing the plot a little bit. I don't know much about his business in terms of where the assets are allocated and like how he makes money, how much are his returns. Like I'm sure you could go look to his website. I was actually looking at it earlier, but I'm going to put him as run because honestly, I don't know what's going on with him. Like he's not super transparent when it comes to his funds. He's dabbling with too much stuff, and apartment buildings in Florida are pretty tough right now. So he goes on run. Let's talk about Caleb Hammer. So this guy is pretty cool. He has a podcast on financial education, and I really like his advice. He's really smart. He's also got a great business himself. He's got massive YouTube channel. He's got real estate stuff, stocks. He's very smart when it comes to personal finance. In my opinion, though, it's gone like too controversial. It's kind of like a Love Island of personal finance. And people like me, and I'm sure a lot of you guys, we're in this business because like we don't want to hear about drama. Like it's already hard enough to like do the stuff we do, and whenever you go to his channel, it's like all about drama. For some people it's fine, but I'll put it as proceed with caution because I really like his advice and it's entertaining, but the drama is just not for me. Let's talk about Iman Gaji. This guy's been around for a minute. So he has this agency model with like marketing, and it's sick. I actually ran a small marketing agency with a friend of mine in terms of AI infrastructure and AI automation. It's pretty sick. His advice is like goaded. He just bought this company called consulting.com, I think it's called. And he's basically like the ultimate boss of course selling. And I don't necessarily run a marketing agency anymore or have an interest in doing that. I still think he's very successful, and the business model he runs with courses is also extremely successful, but it's a different business. Like if you want to be an influencer and kind of like LARP and sell courses, then go and do that. Not necessarily for me. So I'll put him as decent because although he's kind of in this niche market of selling courses and kind of doing marketing shit, he's not actually like running a sick business, in my opinion, like these other guys up here with real estate and private equity. So he goes on decent. Let's go with Ty Lopez. You're in my garage. I'm sure everybody knows about that ad from 2010 or whatever it was. Like he's great, but we could all see that he was running something that was not legitimately. So he just actually like got in some trouble in 2025. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's like proven guilty yet, but I would not do any business with this guy or buy any of his stuff. He goes as run. Let's talk about Gary Vee. He's pretty polarizing. I really like him though because he's polarizing. He's loud. He's kind of repetitive at times, but I think he's great. He's done phenomenal for himself. He wants to buy an NFL team. He's been around since like 2008, really, in terms of YouTube and social media. Like he's got a bunch of stuff right. So I mean, it's pretty hard to get a lot of these things right over like 20 years, and he's done it himself. So I'll put him as goated because this guy is a beast and he's been around forever. And I think he kind of like tried the test of time, right? Let's talk about Joseph Carlson. Maybe you guys don't know him, but I really like his stock stuff. He runs a public portfolio with actually almost close to $1 million now, which is pretty sick. Really smart dude. He's mostly doing growth stocks, but he also invests into different sectors as well. He actually started with the dividend growth portfolio, I want to say like 5 to 6 years ago. And that's how I found him. But he's kind of now transitioned into other stuff. He runs this platform called Qualtrim as well, which is a data analytics platform for stocks. So definitely go check him out if you haven't. Dude is super smart, super transparent. He's got great advice, and he goes on the goated, or he goes on respect because he hasn't been around for that long like these other two guys. And, he's getting there. He's getting to the goated status, but not there yet. I still really love his channel, his advice, but he goes as respect. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is personally my opinion on these guys. There's a lot more people that I've followed throughout the years when it comes to business and personal finance and real estate stuff. But these are kind of like some of the main names that popped to my mind. And hopefully you guys enjoyed and had some entertainment. These are just my thoughts, not financial advice or anything like that. So let me know what you think on the comments, if you would have ranked some of these people higher or even lower. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys soon.